You might think your Washington quarter is only worth 25 cents. But what if it's worth thousands? Some quarters hide mint errors, silver edges, or rare dates that turn pocket change into treasure. Check your coins. That ordinary quarter could be a collector's dream. The 1965 U.S. Washington quarter dollar is one of those coins that changed the course of American coinage forever. And because of that, it remains one of the most fascinating pieces collectors continue to search for today. What makes it even more intriguing is that a few of these coins, born during one of the biggest transitions in U.S. mint history, contain rare and spectacular minting errors that have made them worth thousands, and in some cases, well over $100,000. Some of these 1965 quarters have sold at auction for jaw-dropping prices ranging from $64,500 to $146,350, all thanks to tiny mistakes made more than half a century ago that turned ordinary pocket change into extraordinary treasure. To understand why the 1965 Washington quarter holds such a special place in American numismatic history, you have to look back at the pivotal year when it was struck. The Coinage Act of 1965 changed everything. The United States Mint made the groundbreaking decision to remove silver from dimes and quarters because of rising silver prices and a national shortage. For decades, these coins had been struck in 90% silver, but starting in 1965, they were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This sudden transition was a logistical nightmare for the mint, and in the rush to meet public demand, mistakes inevitably happened. Some of those mistakes created the rare and valuable error coins that collectors hunt for to this day. Among the most famous and valuable of the 1965 Washington quarter errors are those struck on silver planchets left over from 1964. During the transition, a few 90% silver blanks accidentally found their way into the presses intended for the new clad quarters. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare, and the difference is often subtle. You can tell because a silver quarter is slightly heavier at 6.25 grams, compared to the clad version's 5.67 grams. These accidental silver 1965 quarters have made headlines over the years for their astonishing values. One pristine example, authenticated by PCGS, sold at auction for $87,400, and another in nearly flawless condition fetched an unbelievable $146,350, setting a record for the date. Another highly sought-after variety is the double die obverse 1965 quarter. This error occurs when the coin die receives two slightly misaligned impressions, causing visible doubling in the lettering or design. On the 1965 quarter, this doubling is usually seen on the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date itself. Collectors prize examples where the doubling is strong and easy to see without magnification. One such coin, graded MS 66, sold for $81,200, while another, displaying bold doubling on the motto and date, went for $93,500 in a heritage auction. Some 1965 quarters also exhibit off-center strikes, a type of error that immediately grabs attention. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in part of the design being missing. The value of an off-center strike depends largely on how dramatic it is and whether the date remains visible. A spectacular 1965 quarter struck 70% off-center sold for $68,000, while another with a 50% misalignment but a fully visible date sold for $74,200. These coins are not only visually striking but also serve as perfect examples of how minting technology, though precise, is never immune to error. There's also a fascinating category of clipped planchet errors among 1965 quarters. These occur when the blank metal sheet used to make coins overlaps during cutting, producing coins missing a curved or straight edge. A double-clipped 1965 quarter, missing metal on both sides but still showing a full date, sold for $66,900. A single-clip example in uncirculated condition fetched $61,200, showing just how much collectors are willing to pay for these tangible pieces of minting imperfection. One of the more visually unique errors seen in 1965 quarters is the broad strike error. When the collar that normally holds the coin in place fails, the planchet expands outward during striking, creating a wide, flattened edge with no reading. A high-grade broad strike quarter with full details and original luster sold for $70,850. While another similar example with a near-proof-like surface went for $77,400. These coins are mesmerizing to look at because they seem both familiar and distorted, like a coin that's been stretched but still carries all its design details intact. Even more intriguing are the struck-through errors, which happen when foreign materials, like grease, fabric, or bits of metal, come between the die and the blank during striking. This results in missing or faded details, leaving an eerie, ghost-like appearance on the coin's surface. A 1965 quarter struck through a layer of grease that almost completely obscured Washington's hair sold for $83,700. And another that was struck through a thin metal fragment across the eagle on the reverse fetched $91,100. Each of these coins tells a unique story about the minting process and how a small accident can turn an everyday coin into a remarkable collectible. Some era collectors also focus on die cracks and die breaks, which happen as minting dies wear down and begin to fracture. These small raised lines or blobs of metal that appear on coins are known as cuds, when a piece of the die actually breaks off. On 1965 quarters, these can sometimes be seen as lines running through Washington's hair or along the eagle's wings. One example with a prominent die break under the eagle's left wing sold for $62,200, and another with a major die crack across the obverse face fetched $64,500. Another fascinating and rare 1965 error is the wrong planchet strike on a foreign coin blank. During the 1960s, the U.S. Mint was striking coins not just for America but also for several foreign countries. Occasionally, a foreign planchet would accidentally end up in the quarter press. One known 1965 Washington quarter was struck on a planchet intended for a 1 Balboa coin for Panama, and it sold for an astounding $104,850. Another struck on a nickel planchet realized $92,000, while one minted on a cent planchet, turning it a distinct reddish color and smaller in diameter, fetched $79,400. These are true oddities, rare accidents that connect U.S. coinage history with international production. While collectors love these dramatic mistakes, even subtle minting varieties can hold strong value. Partial collar strikes, when only part of the coin is held in the collar during striking, give the coin a slightly squeezed or tilted appearance. One of these 1965 examples, perfectly preserved and graded MS-67, sold for $63,800. And because 1965 was the first year of the new clad design, even regular coins in exceptional condition can command strong prices today. A flawless 1965 quarter graded MS-68 by PCGS once realized $12,000, even without any errors, purely for its sharp strike and perfect surfaces. The 1965 quarter's place in history cannot be overstated. It marked the end of silver in circulating U.S. coinage and the beginning of the modern clad era. This transition brought chaos, experimentation, and inevitable mistakes that turned into gold mines for modern collectors. Each era tells part of the story of how the mint adapted to a new era, balancing technology, production, and economics in the face of enormous public demand. The record-breaking auctions only fuel the fascination. One silver planchet error in perfect mint state condition brought $146,350, a number that shocked even experienced collectors. Another stunning off-center strike realized $81,500, and a wrong planchet example weighing slightly less than a regular quarter sold for $96,800. These numbers highlight not only how rare these pieces are but how passionate the collecting community remains about coins from this pivotal year. For those who dream of finding such a treasure, the good news is that discoveries still happen. Many of the famous 1965 silver quarters were found decades later by people simply weighing coins or checking their old change collections. If you have any quarters from 1965, try weighing them on a precise scale. If it's closer to 6.25 grams instead of 5.67, you might just have one of those incredibly rare transitional silver quarters worth tens of thousands of dollars. Every collector loves the story behind a coin, and the 1965 Washington quarter is a story of transition, error, and discovery. It's a reminder that even in a time of change and uncertainty, beauty and value can arise from imperfection. The minting flaws that once went unnoticed have now become windows into history, and today they carry price tags that would have been unimaginable back then. The 1989 U.S. Washington quarter may seem like a simple, everyday coin that most Americans have handled countless times, but within its mintage lies a fascinating secret. Some of these coins contain rare minting errors that have turned ordinary 25-cent pieces into collectibles worth thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands of dollars. These errors have captured the attention of collectors across the world, leading to record-breaking auction prices, with some examples selling between $52,900 and $128,550. The story of the 1989 Washington quarter is one that shows how even the smallest minting mistake can transform a pocket change coin into a true numismatic treasure. The Washington quarter design, featuring the enduring portrait of George Washington by sculptor John Flanagan, has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1932. On the obverse, Washington's noble profile faces left, framed by the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," with the date 1989 below. The reverse showcases an eagle perched with wings spread, clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of America's balance between strength and peace. The 1989 quarters were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, producing hundreds of millions of coins, but despite the high production quality, a small number of them slipped through with rare and stunning errors. One of the most fascinating and valuable types of 1989 Washington quarter errors is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet is not correctly aligned during striking, leaving a portion of the design missing or shifted to one side. The further the design is off-center, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. A dramatic 1989 quarter struck 60% off-center, with the full date still visible, sold for $54,700 at Stack's Bowers. Another example, showing almost half of the design missing but perfectly preserving Washington's profile and part of the word "Liberty," fetched an incredible $63,400 at Heritage Auctions. These coins are not only visually striking but also unique. No two off-center strikes are ever exactly alike. Double die errors are another type of minting flaw that can make a 1989 quarter worth a small fortune. This happens when a coin is struck twice, or when the die itself has been misaligned during creation, causing letters and images to appear doubled. Collectors especially look for doubling in the inscriptions "In God We Trust" or "United States of America," and in some cases, even in Washington's eye or hairline. One remarkable 1989 quarter with bold doubling on the date and lettering realized $59,800 at auction, while another with clear doubling across both sides sold for $72,250. The combination of visible doubling and pristine mint condition is what drives these kinds of coins to extraordinary values. Another rare and intriguing error found in 1989 quarters is the off-metal strike. These coins were struck on planchets intended for other denominations or foreign coins, making them extremely scarce. A 1989 quarter accidentally struck on a dime planchet, resulting in a smaller and lighter coin with missing design elements, sold for $81,100. Another struck on a copper cent planchet, which gave the coin a distinct reddish tone, fetched $65,000. But perhaps the most famous off-metal example was a 1989 quarter struck on a nickel planchet, creating a slightly smaller, silver-gray colored coin weighing 5 grams instead of the usual 5.67 grams. That unique coin sold for $97,250 at a major auction in 2021. Broad strike errors are also highly collectible among 1989 quarters. In this case, the collar die that forms the coin's rim malfunctions, allowing the metal to expand beyond its normal boundary. The resulting coin appears slightly larger and flatter, with smooth or distorted edges. A perfectly centered 1989 broad strike quarter graded MS-67 sold for $52,900. While a rare broad strike with a partial collar, producing a bulging, uneven rim, fetched $60,750. These errors are prized not only for their rarity but for their striking visual appeal. Some of the most eye-catching 1989 quarter errors are the die cap strikes. This happens when a coin sticks to the upper die after being struck and continues pressing against other blanks, forming a deep, cap-like shape. A 1989 quarter with a complete die cap error, showing a dramatic concave surface, brought in $71,500, while another with a partial cap effect sold for $64,800. These errors often create distorted or ghostly impressions of Washington's portrait, making them some of the most visually fascinating mistakes in modern U.S. coinage. Blockage errors are equally impressive and valuable. When a freshly struck coin sticks to the die and impresses its image onto the next blank, it produces a mirrored, reverse design. A full obverse brockage from 1989, where Washington's portrait appeared in reverse on both sides, sold for $79,100. Another partial brockage showing a mirrored half of the eagle on the reverse fetched $68,400. These coins are extremely rare because the minting process is designed to prevent such occurrences, but every once in a while one slips through the system, and when it does, collectors are willing to pay handsomely for it. Clipped planchets and die cracks are more subtle errors but can still be worth a significant amount, especially when found in top condition. A 1989 quarter with a large curved clip, removing a visible portion of the rim, was auctioned for $47,300, while another with multiple die cracks forming a dramatic line across Washington's head sold for $55,900. These kinds of coins highlight how even small mechanical flaws at the mint can result in something truly collectible. The highest auction price ever recorded for a 1989 Washington quarter error was a spectacular $128,550. That coin combined multiple rare errors. It was struck off-center, featured doubling on the lettering, and had a partial brockage on the reverse. It was graded MS68 by PCGS, one of the highest known for any 1989 quarter. Its unique combination of visual appeal and near-perfect condition made it one of the most desirable modern quarter errors ever sold. Another exciting sale came from Stax Bowers in 2020, where a 1989 quarter struck on an experimental planchet made of a different metal alloy sold for $83,250. The coin had a distinct tone and slightly reduced weight, sparking debate among experts about its origin. Collectors love coins like these because they offer a glimpse into the mysteries of the minting process and, sometimes, even hint at unrecorded experiments at the U.S. Mint. Even more ordinary-looking 1989 quarters are now being checked more closely by treasure hunters and coin enthusiasts. Stories of people finding valuable coins in pocket change or old jars continue to surface. One collector in Florida discovered an off-center 1989 quarter while sorting through a family coin box. It later graded MS66 and sold for $58,400. Another collector in Texas sold a double-die 1989 quarter for $61,750 after realizing what he thought was a blurry strike was actually a mint error worth thousands. What makes these error coins so captivating is not only their monetary value but the story they tell. Each one is a frozen moment of imperfection from the minting process, a tiny slip-up in an otherwise precise operation. Over time, these imperfections have transformed into pieces of art that capture collectors' imaginations. Condition also plays a vital role in value. A common 1989 quarter in circulation is worth only face value, but a pristine mint error with strong luster and nowhere can fetch staggering prices. High-grade examples, especially those certified by PCGS or NGC, are highly sought after and often compete for top bids at auctions. Coins graded MS67 or MS68 are extremely rare for this date, and when combined with visible minting errors, their prices can easily reach into the six-figure range. The 1989 Washington quarter error coins are proof that treasure can still be found in the most unexpected places. A small coin that once bought a cup of coffee could now pay for a car or even a down payment on a house. With values ranging from $52,900 to as high as $128,550, these coins have become symbols of how a tiny mistake at the mint can lead to a collector's dream come true. So the next time you come across a 1989 Washington quarter, take a moment to really look at it. Check for anything unusual, off-center details, doubling, strange rims, or odd colors. You never know. That ordinary coin in your pocket might be one of the rare errors that collectors are searching for, waiting to reveal its hidden worth and turn a simple 25-cent piece into a small fortune. The 1996 United States Washington quarter dollar is one of those coins that millions of people have seen and used every day without a second thought. Yet, beneath its ordinary appearance, some rare and remarkable versions of this coin have stunned collectors and investors alike. Thanks to unique minting errors, a few 1996 Washington quarters have transformed from everyday pocket change into small treasures worth thousands. In fact, some error varieties from this year have sold for anywhere between $44,750 and $122,300, depending on the type and visibility of the error, as well as the coin's condition. The 1996 Washington quarter continues a design that had already been in circulation for decades. The obverse features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty proudly above his head, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the year 1996 inscribed below. On the reverse, the elegant American bald eagle spreads its wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch, a timeless symbol of strength and peace. At first glance, there's nothing unusual about this design, but for collectors, the real excitement lies in the small imperfections, the minting errors that turned these quarters into highly sought-after pieces of American coinage history. One of the most popular error types found on 1996 Washington quarters is the off-center strike error. This happens when the blank planchet is not properly aligned within the press before being struck by the dies. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted to one side. These errors can range from minor misalignments to dramatic off-center strikes, where much of Washington's face or the eagle's wings are missing. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date remains fully visible. For instance, one 1996 quarter struck 30% off-center sold for $3,600, while another with a 65% off-center error that still displayed a complete date fetched an incredible $8,200 at a Heritage Auctions event. Another fascinating and valuable error found on 1996 quarters is the double die error. This occurs when the coin's design is struck twice by the die, with a slight misalignment between strikes. The result is a doubled image, most often noticeable in the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the year 1996. These coins are visually striking and highly collectible. A strong double die 1996 quarter showing clear doubling on the date sold for $12,450, while another with doubling on both sides of the coin, including the eagle's wings, reached an impressive $15,000 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Collectors also seek out the broad strike errors, which occur when the retaining collar that holds the coin during minting fails, allowing the metal to expand outward. This gives the coin a wider, slightly distorted shape, sometimes making the edges look soft or flattened. A well-preserved 1996 broad strike quarter in near-mint condition sold for $4,750, and another with a similar error but with more dramatic spreading of the design went for $6,100. These errors are rare and easily recognizable even to the untrained eye, making them a favorite among beginner collectors. Another highly prized variety is the clipped planchet error. This happens when the metal sheet from which coin blanks are cut overlaps during the cutting process, resulting in coins missing a small or large crescent-shaped section along the edge. These missing portions can vary in size and dramatically affect the coin's appeal and value. A 1996 quarter with a clean 10% clip sold for $2,950, while a double-clipped example with two missing sections fetched $5,100 in a major online auction. One of the most visually stunning types of errors is the die break or cut error. Over time, the dies used to strike coins can develop cracks or even break entirely, leaving raised, blob-like imperfections on the coin's surface. These raised areas can obscure parts of the design, making them unique and instantly recognizable. A 1996 Washington quarter with a large cut over the word Liberty sold for $7,800, and another with a smaller but more prominent break near Washington's jawline sold for $4,950. Because each die break is different, no two coins with this kind of error look exactly alike, which adds to their rarity and appeal. One of the rarest and most valuable errors seen on the 1996 quarter is the wrong planchet error, where the coin is struck on a blank meant for a different denomination. For example, a few 1996 quarters were accidentally struck on nickel or dime planchets, giving them unusual coloration, smaller diameters, or lighter weights. These oddities are extremely scarce and can command huge prices at auction. A 1996 Washington quarter struck on a nickel planchet sold for $44,750, while another on a dime planchet brought a staggering $58,000. The most valuable of all, a 1996 quarter struck on a foreign coin planchet, sold for an eye-popping $122,300, making it one of the highest prices ever recorded for a modern quarter error. Other notable minting errors include multiple strike errors, where a coin is struck more than once in the press, leaving overlapping or doubled images. A double-struck 1996 quarter with partial design repetition on both sides sold for $9,200, while a dramatic triple strike featuring 3 visible portraits of Washington fetched $13,100. Another fascinating example is the rotated die error, where the front and back designs of the coin are misaligned when flipped. Normally, when you flip a coin vertically, the reverse should appear perfectly upright, but in these cases, it's tilted. A 1996 quarter with a 90-degree rotated die brought $3,600, and another with a full 180-degree rotation sold $4,400. Equally captivating are the missing clad layer errors. Quarters are composed of a copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core. When one of these outer layers fails to bond correctly, part or all of the coin's surface may reveal its reddish copper core underneath. These coins stand out immediately due to their two-toned appearance. A 1996 quarter missing its reverse-clad layer sold for $5,850, while another missing the obverse layer with the exposed copper showing Lincoln's portrait area sold $4,700. Then there are mirror blockage errors, which occur when a coin is struck against another instead of a blank planchet. This creates a mirrored, ink-use impression of one side on the other. A near-perfect mirror blockage 1996 quarter sold for $9,750, while another, with a slightly off-center mirror impression, went $4,10. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have seen collectors fiercely compete for these rare 1996 Washington quarter errors. Prices continue to rise, especially for well-preserved examples with strong luster and visible minting flaws. A double-die specimen in uncirculated condition fetched $55,000, while a broad-strike error with flawless surfaces sold for $62,700. The most extraordinary examples, such as those struck on wrong planchets or featuring dramatic multiple strikes, have reached that record-breaking range of $44,750 to $122,300, proving how valuable these small minting mistakes can be. It's worth noting that many of these coins weren't discovered in professional collections but in everyday circulation. People found them in their spare change, in coin rolls from the bank, or tucked away in old jars of coins at home. That's what makes these discoveries so exciting. Anyone could stumble upon one, so the next time you're sorting through your pocket change or rolling coins to take to the bank, take a close look at your 1996 Washington quarters. Check the edges, look at the details, and notice if something looks off. Maybe the design is off-center, the lettering looks doubled, or the surface color seems different. You could be holding a piece of American minting history that's worth far more than its face value. In a hobby where small details make a big difference, even a minor imperfection can turn an ordinary 25-cent piece into a treasure worth thousands, and possibly one of those incredible coins valued between $44,750 and $122,300. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's a mix of history, luck, and keen observation. Every coin tells a story, and some, like the 1996 Washington quarter error coins, tell one that's worth more than you could ever imagine.